Mazda 5 is equipped with Duratec engines. These engines are not super reliable, but they cannot be called completely worthless either. A classic disease of 2.0 gasoline engines is the fragility of the camshaft seals. In addition, there are problems with the thermostat, which becomes unusable even before 100,000 kilometers. The 1.8 engine is one of the most unreliable Duratecs. It has a common problem: floating speed at idle. To fix the problem, you need to flush the throttle valve or change the firmware. In very severe cases, you have to drill a hole in the throttle valve. In addition to all of the above, the engine is characterized by tripping and knocking. This doesn't happen often, but it does happen. There are many reasons for this engine behavior: detonation, valve knocking, problems with spark plugs, high voltage wires, throttle valve, ignition coil, fuel pump. On 2.0 diesel engines, exhaust particulate filters suffer. Replacing them is quite expensive, although not difficult. A potential weak point of the Mazda Premacy 2005 to 2010 is the common rail system on diesel engines. If the injector becomes clogged, its replacement is inevitable, the price of which will unpleasantly surprise the car owner. The use of low-quality fuel with the common rail system is unacceptable. The declared fuel consumption of the Mazda 5 is quite acceptable, but many owners complain that actual consumption is higher. It can reach 10 to 12, and in winter even up to 15 liters. The car's engines are not equipped with hydraulic compensators, so the valves will have to be adjusted every 50,000 kilometers. Among other things, one of the most painful areas of the Mazda Premacy 2005 to 2010 is the radiator of the cooling system. Almost all owners who purchase a car are required to repair it. There are usually no complaints about a manual transmission, which cannot be said about an automatic transmission, the electrics of which are prone to malfunctions. In fairness, it should be noted that not a single modern automatic transmission can boast of reliability, especially when compared with mechanics. Almost every used Premacy has problems with the body. The insufficient durability of the paintwork is a peculiar feature of the Mazda 5, so scratches, chips and cracks on the car should not come as a surprise. Moreover, if there are no paint defects on it, this should raise suspicions, because most likely, the car was subjected to pre-sale preparation, and no one will say whether there are pockets of rust under the brand new layer of paintwork. Wheel arches of a car are prone to corrosion, so immediately after purchasing a car it is advisable to treat them with anti-gravel or any other protective coating. The weak link of the chassis is the bushings and stabilizer links. Most car owners replace links upon purchase. This nuisance, if desired, can be easily eliminated using a homemade method by replacing standard racks with off-road ones and adjusting the latter. Also among the disadvantages of Premacy is the need to adjust the wheel alignment almost immediately after purchasing the car. Most of those who purchased a car second-hand encounter this nuance. The silent blocks of the front suspension arms will also not please the new owner with their reliability. There is a high probability that they will have to be changed after 70,000 kilometers. Many complaints are received about the right airbag of the internal combustion engine. A common problem is the spontaneous activation of emergency mode for an automatic transmission in which 1 to 3 or only 3 gears operate. You can try to fix this by removing the battery terminal for a few minutes. The rear seat headrests can obscure the driver's view, and the interior plastics are easy to scratch. Disadvantages of Mazda Premacy second generation. Stiff suspension, low sound insulation. Although many modern cars suffer from this, small ground clearance, the underbody protection is made of plastic, insufficient crash resistance. If earlier Mazda as a brand was one of the most resistant to mechanical stress, then cars after 2000 cannot boast of such qualities. The Mazda Premacy is a good family car, but it cannot be said that the pros and cons clearly outweigh the positives. If used carefully in the conditions for which it was created, this car will certainly please its owner, if he is ready to work on the car and devote time and effort to it. It makes no sense to compare the first generation with expensive cars. For its class, the Mazda 5 fully justifies the price of purchase and maintenance, but the cost of the second generation will seem unreasonably high to many.